Good afternoon. I hope everybody is having a great day today. I'm just relaxing a few minutes before I get to work today. I like to just show up early so I can just give myself some time to just chill before I go in to get busy at work. And this video is going to be about something I've thought about last year sometime. I was writing in my journal and I was thinking about circumstances and consequences. So the idea here is that when we're living our lives, we live by our circumstances, and the circumstances that we have going on in our lives often lead to consequences. So circumstances and consequences are very important to consider as you build your life up, accomplish your goals, and do the things that you want to achieve in life. Now, oftentimes circumstances are of our own creation. A lot of people like to play the blame game and blame other people and other situations for the circumstances they find themselves in. This is not always the case, and mostly it isn't the case. The circumstances you find yourself in are oftentimes realities that you created yourself. And then there are times, however, where circumstances may be things that were not directly related to us and our faults, but that's rare. Let's give you an example. Let's say you were born into and raised in a dysfunctional environment and family. Let's say you're an inner city kind of child and you grew up around a lot of bad people in the neighborhood, and maybe your parents always argued and fought with each other. I'm just giving this as an example, but you can see how someone that was raised like that, well, that wasn't they didn't create those circumstances. They're a child. They grew in that. That's the family they were born in. That's the neighborhood they were born in. And so until they're an adult, until they can do something about it, they're kind of a victim of those circumstances, more or less. But let's give another example. Let's say that there's a plane up there. So looks cool. So let's say that you have the opportunity to date a certain person, let's say, and that person may not be ideal for you, but in your desperation for companionship, you decide to engage in a relationship with this person, and then that leads to circumstances that may not be desirable in your life. This person may have issues, they may be toxic, and then you're going to have to deal with those consequences. Let's say, another example, you don't like your job, you hate it, it's crap, and you just want to leave, so you quit. And then all of a sudden, let's say you're married and you do that, all right? And then now you don't have a job. Let's say it takes a long time to find another job, and then your wife leaves you, your house gets foreclosed on, your car gets repossessed, and then you end up homeless. It's just extreme, right? But this is what happens. So you created those circumstances, and now you have to live with those consequences, and those consequences can be quite drastic. Sometimes they can come about really quickly, and sometimes they can be just you can get through it pretty quick and easy. You just got to go take care of it and not ignore it, and then fix the issue. So the idea that when you have circumstances in your life, most often than not, you created those circumstances, and it's up to you to take responsibility and alleviate the issues in those circumstances before you have to deal with the terrible consequences that might arise. A lot of people like to play the victim and use circumstances as excuses to stop themselves from their own goals and achievements that they want to that they're planning to get done in their lives. You know, they block themselves from rising above the difficulties that they've created themselves. They use this victim mentality or this entitlement mentality to excuse their inability to see that they created these issues and problems themselves. This can happen with a lot of different things like addictions, bad relationships, poor money management. They're always broke. Well, stop spending so much money on stuff that you don't need, and you won't be broke all the time. And it sounds simple, but people do, and I mean, we're all guilty of it at some point in our lives. We've all done this. I'm not going to just say that everyone is perfect and they're just going to, just not run into terrible circumstances. Now, sometimes circumstances, like I said, they could just happen against your better judgment or will. Like if you get fired from a job because the company you work for is crap and they don't care about their employees, and or they're cleaning house and they just start firing people and laying people off. Well, that circumstance, you could say, is out of your control, and now you have to deal with those consequences. However, if you were to save your money and build up a nice reserve of emergency funds that can take care of you if some of these circumstances out of your control happen, then at least you can make it easier for you to handle the consequences. So a lot of people, they live just day to day and they don't really think about the future too much, and then when circumstances out of their control happen, they get caught up in the mix, and then they don't know what to do, and they're not ready for it. And this is why choices matter. So the way out of circumstances that are unfavorable in your life is to look at the choices that you do have. We have been gifted as human beings to have a lot of power, and it seems that the world doesn't want us to acknowledge that we have our own individual power to create the lives that we want to live. But we have a tremendous amount of power. We just have to claim it, acknowledge it, and exercise and execute on the goals that we want to achieve. Let's see if I can get the seal. Look at that. I don't know if I caught that on the camera. I just turned it around, so hopefully you got to see that seagull fly by. So your choices in life matter, and they set up the circumstances and ultimately the consequences that you have to deal with in life. Is there a secret to taking care of circumstances before they arise? Well, this takes forethought to be a good leader of your own life, and to be able to look at what's going on in your life honestly and critically and say to yourself, you know what, I don't like the circumstances that I'm in, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to negotiate around these obstacles that I have placed before me, and as a result wind up with more favorable consequences of my actions. So I think that's where this is all heading, is the idea that you need to be responsible for your actions and your choices in life so that you can create and live out better circumstances of what you want in life, how you want to live, and the life you want to build. Anyway, I'm getting ready to go to work. Let's see. Yeah, I got a little bit of time. I just wanted to share that with you, and hopefully this gives you some food for thought, that you do have a lot of power, individual power, to create and build the life that you want, and to get out of circumstances that may be daunting and seem to keep you stuck and trapped in a certain way of living that you don't desire, that's not good for you, that's toxic. What you have to do is start to see and realize, what choices can I make to get me to change these circumstances, because I'm tired of the consequences that are happening because of the circumstances I created. All right, everybody. Have a good night.